All right, and thanks for joining us this week on the Niners News Update. Just want to go over the couple of pieces of news that we have for you this week. Obviously, not a whole lot for you. First thing we're going to discuss is
the most recent rumor to come out. Well, actually, there's two. One a little better than the other, but one NFL executive said the Commanders could justify trading the 11th pick, which, well, let me finish, in the NFL draft for Jimmy Garoppolo, which, in my opinion, is too much. I don't think trading a first-round pick for him is particularly worth it. I know you would love that because obviously the Niners would get a first-round pick, and you'd be, I'm going to take the first-round pick. But no, I mean, you have to admit the 11th pick for Jimmy.
As they say, I'd be happy as the proverbial pig in shit.
Right. So, I mean, I hope that is not actually true.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like a second-round pick, I'd be totally game for that.
That's what we got Jimmy for. And I will say this. I mean, so coming over since we got him for a second-round pick, the man has been to 2 NFC Championship games and established an insane winning record. So I feel like he's only helped his. The injury thing is a concern, but he stayed healthy for 2 out of 4 seasons, really. One of those seasons he was acquired in the middle of the season, so you really can't count that as a full season.
I wouldn't deny that Jimmy has done well with San Francisco. I mean, he has a winning record, so I wouldn't deny any of that. He's 33 and 14. The executive who did
just a 33.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So it's still a good record. The executive who was quoted anonymously about Washington's quarterback options doesn't think that Garoppolo is worth the 11th selection or any first-round choice based on skill set and injury history, which I completely agree with that. But he believes that the organization could justify the move if they deem the draft's top quarterbacks as unstartable, which, given the way it looks as of now, and the talk about the quarterbacks that are in the draft, that seems like it's probably the case. So this a high first-round pick would be quite the price for a quarterback who is mostly efficient in Kyle Shanahan's run-first offense. Niners beat writer Cam Inman this month said the team might take a day 2 draft pick for Jimmy G, which I would much prefer. Among the most QB-desperate teams in NFL, Washington would be a bad spot if they once again had to turn to Taylor Heineke as their day 1 starter.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows how accurate that is. I mean, I think that – I mean, I'm not completely one to say that Heineke couldn't potentially end up as a starter one day on a team that's got a little bit more offensive talent. And I know, to counter that point, a lot of people are saying that Jimmy is, he's on a super talented, which he is. But let's take going to Washington, for example. I don't think the drop-off would really be that significant because, let's say he does go to Washington. He's still got Antonio Gibson. He's still got J.D. McKissick if they re-sign him. So they've still got
Curtis Samuel if he's ever healthy
Curtis
again.
Samuel, who could be a gadget
Samuel
player.
Thing.
Yeah. Potentially, obviously Terry McLaurin, who would be obviously number 1 target. And then Logan Thomas at tight end. And Jimmy loves throwing to the tight end as based off his relationship with Kittle. So I really don't
Kittle,
think that there would be much drop-off at all. I think that he could definitely succeed in Scott Turner's offense and maybe even produce better than what Heineke. Obviously, he would.
Oh, no, I would say he probably would produce better than Heineke. I mean, Heineke, he had a lot of heart, and he could run and make things happen. But honestly, his arm ability and arm strength is really what killed him. Yeah. I mean, he made some good throws. But
and Jimmy doesn't have a Mahomes arm, but Jimmy does usually throw a tight spiral and usually get the ball in position, albeit sometimes a little bit higher than you might like.
Yeah, I mean, well, no quarterback's perfect, but yes. But I would say Jimmy throws a prettier ball than Heineke does. But I mean, the main thing I think everyone liked about Heineke is his heart.
Oh,
the way that he approached the game. And it's hard. It's really hard. The few fans that did hate on him, I don't understand
that pylon dive in the Tampa playoff game.
Dude, that won me over immedially. I was like, all right, well, you got me, bro.
And then I'll always love when Chase Young was just pointing to his jersey, pointing it he's pointing his name on the back. It was just And as I mentioned with Jimmy too, I mean, it's. I think what would drive, as we kind of touched on, what would drive that value up would be the fact that, obviously, if we were going into last offseason with the quarterback draft, the quarterback crop in the draft where there were 5 guys taken in the first.
Oh, it'd be very, very
yeah,
different.
Jimmy wouldn't go for anything higher than a second pick, but because of like maybe
Absolutely
like
not.
Malik Willis is like the best like looking quarterback, or like who knows who's going to be the top guy taken. Obviously he's been reported.
Yeah, at this point, I haven't looked
Yeah.
into enough of these players, and draft is a long
Yeah.
ways away. I'm not even going to speculate, but all I know
Yeah.
is what I've heard in general sense that the QBs don't
But
look
if
like
you're
they're
gonna
much
if
much
you
of
were gonna
starters.
use number 11 on a quarterback anyway, like I think you've got a better chance using that pick on Jimmy than any of the guys in this year's draft. If you're set on drafting a quarterback anyway, because I mean
You're right.
he's at least the
actually.
guy.
That's you're completely
Yeah.
right. Actually, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a good point.
Jimmy's
That is a good point. So even if it did come down to being
Yeah,
the
I mean
first,
Jimmy's a guy that if he got you into the playoffs, like in the postseason, I mean he's got a postseason record of
it would still be nice to get him for a second and still have the first round pick. But
Yeah.
you are not wrong, actually. Given especially if they were going to draft a quarterback, which obviously if the prospects would create that would be the plan.
Yeah.
But given the prospects, then
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
you're right. Jimmy for
you
first.
pick up a guy that's like 4-2 in the playoffs on a team that's potentially playoff caliber, and like he can get you there. Obviously, it's not the most attractive option. If you can get Russ, that's probably the move you want.
It's really it's the cost
Right.
factor. It's
Absolutely.
like because Russ would be the
Absolutely.
cost, Jimmy would be a lot
Yeah.
cheaper. It's really a weighing your options kind of thing there. Obviously, Russell is probably going to be a better quarterback option, but is that cost worth it to the rest
Right.
of your team?
Exactly.
Maybe going with Jimmy and having the picks and having all of that and building
Exactly.
around him would work
That's
better.
right.
I mean, it worked in San Francisco. So I mean, the team, San Francisco, the team really, I feel like, is what got them as far as they did. Not so much Jimmy. Jimmy did a lot, but
Yeah, I mean,
the talent
at
around
moments
him.
he
And,
definitely had to like put
yeah, he's
some
had some fourth quarter
winning drives
winning
together.
drives.
Yeah,
and,
but yeah,
Absolutely,
it has
absolutely.
definitely been a very cognizant team effort.
Sorry,
with it.
my
No,
ear itched.
you're fine. It has definitely been a very, very team-oriented effort. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be upset with really either one. I know a lot of people really hate on Jimmy and him coming here, but you got to get somebody.
Yeah.
And the way that this year is, it's going to either be something like that, or it's going to be maybe go all out and get a Russell Wilson. There also may be Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
depending on what happens with his
That's
legal
true.
issues. But personally, I wouldn't touch that with a
Yeah.
10-foot pole. But
Yeah.
you never know. I mean,
That's true. That's true. And now that we've covered the potential news with where Jimmy might end up in other Niner news, wanted to also mention the fact that new Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel is having some familiar faces join him in Miami, with the addition of wide receivers coach Wes Welker, who is taking the same position in Miami, and also tight ends coach John Embry, who also left San Francisco for Miami. River Craycraft, wide receiver River.
Oh no, not River Craycraft.
River Craycraft has signed 49ers legend River Craycraft has signed with the Miami Dolphins. He of course began his career with the Denver Broncos, and he played his last 2 seasons with the 49ers, seeing action in 15 NFL games. Most recently playing in 6 games this last season, all on special teams. Didn't have any catches. So Craycraft doesn't figure to make a huge splash in the receiving corps for Miami, but he does have experience in Mike McDaniel's system, and he should be able to factor in the return game and play on special teams. So definitely sad to have him lost off our special teams unit. Obviously, he was always a player I liked cheering.
Yeah, he was pretty
Yeah,
solid. And his
Yeah.
name, I always
Yeah.
liked his name.
just like the Tucson intersection, River and Craycraft. It's River Craycraft.
Yeah, it's literally like it's so close
So,
to it. It's
Good
one
luck,
letter
good
off,
luck to you,
basically.
Coach Welker and Coach Embry and River down in Miami. Hope it all goes well for you. The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick is the 49ers have some offseason decisions to make, most notably with defensive end Dee Ford, who's fully guaranteed $4.6 million. His $4.6 million roster bonus became fully guaranteed on Tuesday. So salary cap analyst Joel Corey said that while the Niners are officially due to pay Ford that $4.6 million, it doesn't do much to affect how they'll operate with the veteran defensive ends contract in the coming months. There's also a chance that they keep him on the roster in hopes that he can get healthy enough to contribute, although that definitely feels like a long shot after he's missed 29 of the last 36 games, due to back injuries and neck injuries. So, in fact, in 3 seasons with the Niners, he's only played in 18 games, racking up 9.5 sacks.
Jesus.
Last season, he appeared in 6 games, so it started off well. We thought we were going to get some production out of him. He played in 6 games, recorded 3 sacks, but then we never saw him again. So, interesting to see if Dee Ford is on the roster. Obviously, when he's playing, he's a dynamic player because in 18 games he's got 9.5 sacks. So
9, yeah, I was gonna say that's a good ratio.
Yeah, I mean, when he's out there, he's producing, but when he's not out there, and that unfortunately seems to be more often than not, then that's a lot of money to be paying a guy that's not going to play. And we just got rid of Jalen Hurd, who never played, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But really, outside of that, it's really all the Niner-related news that we have for you guys at this time. So join us next week. Free agency's coming up here in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But thanks for joining us on the show. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
And that is going to do it for this week on the Extra Point Show. Thanks again for joining us here. As always, we appreciate you. And if you're not already, make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us on all the various social medias that we'll have on the screen here. And have a good night.